Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Stories of Hope. This is episode 3, so if you haven't had a chance to check out episode 1 or 2, go back and check those out now. So this week we're going to be featuring Anthony Russell, and his story is just like many of you and I, just growing up normal kids, but then some of the decisions that he ultimately made a pretty big impact on his life. And I just want to take a little minute to talk about the decisions that we make. And sometimes, in the moment, as we're trying to decide what to do best or worst, ultimately those decisions can affect the outcome of the rest of your life, whether it's permanent outcomes or permanent effects that happen to you, or just big effects that happen and can affect your entire family. So that's one thing I've been struggling with this past week. There have been a couple of opportunities, and I'm trying to navigate that world of the decision making, and not just a small decision, but a very big decision that ultimately affects the outcome of my family's lives. So not only is it impacting me, but it's going to impact them as well. So just kind of in a moment right now where I'm trying to make the best decision, trying to pray about it, trying to talk about it with my family. So that kind of relates to this video, that the decisions that you make, and Anthony will talk about some of those decisions, with his family life and even with his best friend, and basically where this addiction led him to. So this is the first part of episode 3, and then in the second part, he'll talk about his story of hope. Thank you.
Towards the end of my 18-year addiction, I found myself watching one of my friends overdose in a car, and before I even took him to get help, I robbed him to go get more heroin, and that's what my life was, and the only way I can explain it is, like I was saying, is to be completely without hope. I thought this was my life. That's the way I thought it was always going to be and everything. But it didn't. It started out that way. It started out in the 4th grade with smoking marijuana and drinking. And then in the 8th grade, I was introduced to pain pills and immediately got hooked to them, and hallucinogens and all of it. It was everything. And then by the time I graduated high school, I was a complete garbage cans, heroin, cocaine. And it's nothing that I wouldn't try, at least, it was always just do it, and that's where I completely got addicted once I graduated high school. And it just continued down that path of making compromises and doing it. And when I was 23, the Lord gave me a son. It was one of the scariest and most wonderful times of my life. Like, I was a 23-year-old strung out addict that couldn't take care of himself, and like, how was I ever going to take care of a son? And it took me to a couple different treatment facilities as meetings and Suboxone clinics and stuff, and to me it was all just pretty much a joke, because one gave you more drugs and the other one you went and sat there and talked about doing drugs, and never really helped ever. It just led more into the addiction, truthfully. And it continued on. I started using heroin, using the needle, and that completely transformed the addiction to where you need it every single day, multiple times a day. It controls you to the point, if you use the bathroom, what time you wake up, if you eat that day. If I played with my son, and that was one of the worst feelings ever, that your son asking you to play with you, and you tell him you can't because you're sick. Daddy don't feel good. Daddy don't feel good. Oh, Daddy can't come see you today. I don't feel good. And before I ever knew anything about the Lord or God, I would pray and ask God to let me not even wake up, so I don't have to put my family or my son growing up knowing an addict. Always, like, I would pray that, and but it led me to a point where I was found behind a restaurant dead in a car, and a policeman came up, and he didn't even open the door, didn't knock on the window. He said, I've got to talk to him in court afterwards, and and he has told me that he has seen plenty of dead bodies and seen people OD, and that he called the paramedics to come and pronounce me dead before he even opened the door, because he said he would have bet everything he owned that I was dead in that car. And when the paramedics came, they opened the door and I stood up out of it, and still to this day I remember seeing the shock on that police officer's face. I don't remember him opening the door, but I remember standing there. And I was facing some pretty good charges, close to 3-4 years in prison, felony possession and paraphernalia like that.